thank you for those that are listening. The topic is how outsourcing their finance function enabled ASE to focus on what they do best. So I'd like to introduce, firstly, Nick, who's sitting beside me from the CFO Centre. So Nick, would you like to just a little blurb on yourself?
Yeah, I'm I guess 40 year commercial accountant stroke CFO who had got to a point in my career where I didn't want to work full time for an organisation anymore. So I joined the CFO Centre, where we provide SMEs from 2 through to about 50 million with part-time CFOs to help them, the likes of Andrew, to concentrate on what he needs to do in driving the business forward and take some of the financial pressure away from him. You know, there's a number of things that Andrew and I regularly talk to, and I try and take those things away from him. Obviously, you need input from the likes of Andrew or other business owners, but it's about trying to give him the time to focus on the things that are more important, which is taking the business to the next level. And, you know, we've seen that over the period of, I've worked with Andrew now for nearly 3 years, or no more than 3 years. And, you know, the business has grown significantly and moved in different directions. And there's exciting new products that have just hit the market and will continue to hit the market. So, you know, I would hope that what it's done is given him some comfort that he's also got somebody behind him to look after him, but also to give him that time away from just having to focus on finance. Because often with a business like Andrew, where Andrew's where he's the main or single shareholder, they tend to take all of the back of house stuff on themselves as well. I know Andrew still does some of the other things, but yes, hopefully through the relationship that Numeric Eight and the CFO Centre have with Andrew and ASE, it's enabled him to do more of getting out there, developing the product and spending time with the client.
Yeah, thank you. And Andrew, do you want to do a little bit of a blurb about the business and background to ASE and a little bit of backstory? I think business owners always have a story to tell and where they've come from and how they developed, and I love that piece with all businesses. So do you want to just share a little bit about your business and how ASE came about?
Certainly, thanks, Trudi. So ASE is a managed service provider that specialises in data services. So basically our business has evolved over the past 20 years to basically focus now on data as a core asset for any of our customers' businesses. And what that basically means is that we take a slightly different approach to IT and technology and start with the data first. So if you think about what your business may have in terms of assets, one of the most valuable assets that's often not really well recognised is data, because you can imagine you remove data from a business and business really becomes nothing almost. And so, we've positioned ourselves over the last couple of years with a step change to really, leverage and take advantage of this sort of data-driven economy that's coming through, and COVID certainly helped and accelerated that. But over the years, we've been operating, like I said, for 20 years, originally as a break-fix organisation. So people used to ring us when technology problems arose. And then we moved into more managed services and more cloud services. So today we have a team that operates customer environments right across the world, but based out of mainly Sydney. We do have people in different locations around Australia and New Zealand as well, and data centres globally as well with some of our data centre partners. But it's certainly been an evolution of in terms of how our business has grown from strength to strength. And I would certainly say that having the support of the CFO Centre and Numeric Eight, CFO Centre for about the last 3 years and Numeric Eight probably for about the last 18 months, has certainly assisted in that step change. I think, as Nick touched on, the ability for me as a shareholder and as a director, and I guess a principal, to be able to, take some of the pressure and burden, and I guess just day-to-day toil of accounting and bookkeeping off my mind has really kind of freed up like I like to use a technology term of CPU compute cycles, my brain. It means that I can certainly say that I've had more time to do strategic things as opposed to sort of day-to-day repetitive things, and that's been really great to see.
So, something that I find really common in businesses is the very early days when a business owner does wear all hats in the business. And how did you, Andrew, let go of those, the financial aspect of the business? Because the finance is the most sensitive part in most organizations, right? It not only influences the business, but in some cases, if the business owner, it can be influenced the business owner's personal financial areas as well. So tell us, was it a gradual movement of letting go of stuff, or how did you decide to let go of stuff and then bring in Nick and then ourselves?
Yeah, look, I think from my perspective, if I can think back, I did do the accounts for a number of years, and I think that's important when you're starting out, so you get a feel for the business and the flows of how things are operating. But it is about knowing when to sort of hand off. So if I think about over the years, we had other bookkeeping sort of services, say one-man band, so to speak. We had another CFO, again, sort of one-man band. And I think that was good for where we were at that point in time, but we quickly outgrew those services. And so if I sort of think about why CFO Centre and Numeric Eight kind of works pretty well. Nick, obviously, and I have known each other now for 3 years, and again, that's through the CFO Centre marketing. We were introduced to Nick, and we had that conversation. We had employed another bookkeeping agency prior to Numeric Eight, which Nick also oversaw. But I think it was about recognising where strengths are, and I'm kind of, I've learned over the last little while, you kind of got to focus on your strengths and know where that is. And it is hard to let go sometimes, but I think if you can find an organisation or people who specialise in what they do and be very clear around the delineation and the roles and responsibilities, then that becomes a good partnership. And so why the previous ones didn't work out or didn't grow with us, I think there was a lack of delineation, or our bookkeeper at the time decided to want to become the CFO, and that kind of didn't really work. So we got a really clear, I think, set of roles and responsibilities here, where Nick's CFO, he engages with me very regularly, oversees Numeric Eight. So we almost have a bit of a church and state thing going on. It's not and everyone, in this sort of three-way triangle keeps everyone honest and on track. I think I have seen there's other organisations that kind of blend into that whole CFO and bookkeeping together. I'm sure that works okay, but I think we've got a really good structure because we do kind of have that dynamic to bounce off each other, and plus we have more kind of eyes on the prize, so to speak. So accuracy is maintained, transparency is maintained, and I think that just means that we can all move forward faster together.
Yeah, and and thanks for the the fact that actually, yes, Nick and Numeric Eight actually work really well together. And I don't think people realise that line of responsibility and function. It does get blurred because people just think accounts and finance. They don't actually realise that there's actually various roles and specialities within the finance department. I suppose it's a little bit like IT. When you say IT, everyone thinks you sell computers. Well, but you got specialties in IT itself. The roles and responsibilities of certain people within the organisation. It's no different to finance. And if you look at even the likes of even bookkeeping itself, we have an AP person, an accounts payable person, an accounts receivable who actually is good at debtor chasing, someone that specializes in payroll. They're all different skill sets, and they're all different I suppose you just need to know what the ATO rules are for that particular area of the business. And so Numeric Eight reporting to, Nick, it does actually make that clear line of, of separation and function. And it means then we're not annoying you every 2 seconds, Andrew, with 100 million questions. It means then we can go to Nick and Nick will actually know holistically over the business in a sales, operational, finance perspective where that might sit, because he's across, the business rather than just in finance, just in that little piece.
And I think it's a different example of where it perhaps doesn't work. Andrew's got ambitions to expand the business, and one of the routes to expand the business is to acquire a business. And we've quite recently been looking at a business, and Andrew provided me with the numbers from the current owner. But when we delved deeper, a lot of the information in there was just not reliable. It hadn't been properly executed through to the degree that we wanted to the extent that, even last week Andrew and I were talking about it, and he said, well, where do you think it sits? And I went, well, to be brutally honest, we can't really tell because there's not enough robustness behind some of those numbers for us to be able to go to the next level.
Yeah. And I suppose just going a little bit deeper in that conversation, Nick. So on a CFO, from a CFO perspective, do you just want to I suppose outline, the things that actually get discussed, like just the areas, because bookkeeping, we talk about payroll and we're talking about paying bills and just the more day-to-day stuff, but your conversations that you have are very different to the conversations that we have with clients. So
from obviously focusing on Andrew, and we started the conversation around COVID and the impact. I found it difficult because I do need access to Andrew, because a lot of the stuff has to be things that we talk, and it's a lot easier when you're face to face. But obviously a lot of our focus is around the profitability of the business and where we want the business to go, and are we on that journey, and what do we need to do to fix that if we're not. And obviously you go back 12 months and we sat down and we set our goals for the financial year 21-22, and we're obviously trying to track against that, because that gets Andrew to where he wants to go, and other things along the track. But obviously things come and go. We've had customers who've wanted to do deals with us, and Andrew and I will then look at it and look at the alternatives. Cash is always king, so often it's often the focus of our conversations in terms of where are we. I mean, to be fair to Andrew's got a fantastic model in the sense that he has most of his customers on direct debit, so they pay him 14 days after the day he raises his invoice, which is a great system. We have had a couple of other large clients, but it's sort of it's that sort of traction. But more we talk about business. Obviously, we have a monthly management team meeting with a couple of the other members of the team, and it's around where we're going with the business, what do we need to do, how do we get to where we want to. And again, a lot of businesses, once you get out of the core trading, the overheads, etc., are fairly consistent. So we know where we're going to go. We've just got to drive that top part of the business, and obviously that's what Andrew's the expert at, and knowing where we're going to get the activities, what's going to happen, etc., etc. So yeah, our journey was, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago, if I'm being honest, we were down here, and we're sort of here, and we want to get to here, and that's the journey that we're on at the moment. And as I said earlier on, Andrew's got aspirations that he would like to actually acquire a business, because that gets us that step growth, maybe also exposes us a bit more into different states in Australia, because predominantly we are a New South Wales based business. We have got, as Andrew said, we have got work elsewhere, but predominantly. So yes, it's taking it to that next level, which is where he wants to be.
So you're almost like he's a trusted advisor, really. That's what it comes down to.
I'd like to think it's more than that. I'd like to think we're friends as well.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So it is trusted advisor and friends. So that it is that he feels that he can pick up the phone, and I can pick up the phone, and we can talk to each other on a regular basis. It's not, I work for him I normally go into the office on a Thursday, but it's not to say we'll only talk to him on a Thursday. We'll talk whenever we need to, and it's a two-way street, because there'll be things I need from him, and we just try and get to each other.
So as all business owners, you can do some pretty crazy things and have some pretty crazy phone calls. So has Andrew ever picked up the phone and said, Nick, I've come up with this great idea. I want to buy this, or I want all these people. I want all this. And so, how do you manage? Business owners are, we're quite unique, aren't we?
I think sometimes yes, we have to temper the enthusiasm. We've been there, and I guess what Andrew and I talk about is this journey we're on, and he's on this journey, and we're definitely going down the right path. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to divert from the path too much, because again, my concern is you then put too much, if you will, cost into the business and it starts to hurt the business. We've got to get there. We don't want to go.
Yes. Yeah.
We want to go smoothly and get there. There might be a step jump as we go along the path. So we've had it, and we looked at business a couple of years ago, and it probably was a step too far, and we had to have that conversation. And I'm sure Andrew, in the back of his mind, he still would have loved to have got there, but the price was just too much for what we were ready for.
Yeah.
And Andrew, just to continue from what Nick's saying there too, I think having Nick come into the business and then Numeric Eight come in as well, I think the golden piece here is having timely and accurate information. And not only that, also another set of eyes to help interpret it. And so Nick and I spent a lot of time, I guess, looking at overviews and graphs and tracking actuals, the budgets, all stuff that often gets lost when you're trying to do this operational accounting yourself, because you get so burnt out in the actual day-to-day doing the accounts that you don't get time to step back from it. So I think if I was to think about putting this in financial terms around the roles and responsibilities, I'd almost say that Nick's responsible for the balance sheet, and Trudi and your team are responsible for the P&L, and that's why it kind of works together, because there is an interlock between those two things, but there's also a very clear delineation on responsibilities.
Yeah.
And I think part of what the role is as well is that, there's a particular member of staff that Andrew and I are working with at the moment. And it's also about bringing people's financial awareness up so that they can contribute more to the business.
Yeah.
So we've got one particular guy who runs a lot of projects, and we're just trying to make him understand how to best run it to make more money for the business.
Yeah, and dealing with margins, aren't you? Then?
Correct. He just sees that he's got a team of people that he's got to work, and they will charge on to clients. But it's making sure that he understands the implications. And we sit down, and Andrew will sometimes say to him, "You've not invoiced them for the month. You've not invoiced them for the month." And it's about people understanding the implications of what they do on the rest of the business.
And if Andrew's got those numbers on hand, that makes it really easy to have those conversations because it's fact, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the point. And Andrew makes a point of it. We have normally fortnightly we have a conversation with a guy, and we go through where he is with his respective projects, because it's a growing part of the business, and it's important we get it right. And
you get a buy-in. You get a buy-in from other, the other team members. If you know your numbers and you can deliver black and white figures to show fact, and you're working with the other employees or your team members, and you get a buy-in, it's a group effort then, because they all know where they're going and they're not traveling blind. So, yeah. Andrew, one question I have for you, because it's always a question I get asked, when we're doing the day-to-day accounts, is what software should you be using? So my question to you is, why did you pick NetSuite as your accounting software?
It's a very good question. So we've been a NetSuite customer for 15 years. So it was very early days of accounting in the cloud. One of the reasons why we picked NetSuite was just, I guess, the breadth of offering. So not only does it do our accounts receivable, accounts payable, general ledgers, but also extends to do our ERP, our project management, project resource planning, purchasing, our cases and support system as well for customers. So we really get this kind of whole 360-degree view of a customer, and that's been very powerful in terms of being able to, I guess, get multiple people in the business to all focus on the customer in the middle. And so, that was our reason. There was some eyebrows raised at the time, because obviously NetSuite is probably a mid-tier market system. But we always had that vision that we would grow into it, rather than having to come back and do a retrofit or a migration later. And we've certainly done that. We've grown in and kind of pushing its capabilities. But yeah, it's been a good decision.
And again, going back to what we were just talking about, and Andrew did mention it in there, it's all very integrated. And when we are talking to the project manager about his projects, you don't have to export it from NetSuite to put it into Excel and manipulate the numbers. It is all part of the reporting system. And a number of the staff effectively, they earn revenue by the number of hours they work for people. So it's enabled us to track time on jobs, etc., etc. And more latterly, the business ASE has been involved in a number of R&D applications over the years, and yes, getting the information so that the R&D person's very comfortable with it. We've now got it tracked in NetSuite, and they can just see the timesheets and all of the information that they need to submit the application to the tax office is there, and it's just made. Andrew knows that my thoughts on it, because I'm not a regular user of it. It is a very clever system, but it's also quite a complex system. So I understand entirely why he does it. We work with other. We tend to work with other SMEs where you will have Salesforce and a Xero or something like that. Was with the NetSuite, it's all there, it's all integrated, and it's, if people understand how to use it, it's a very powerful tool.
I mean, I don't get onto it because the team use it, but I see what they do on NetSuite, and it does. It is a relatively big system to the likes of MYOB or QuickBooks or Xero. You can't even compare. But for what Andrew needs it for, it's a pretty amazing system. So for the back office, for operations, for sales, it literally is all one. Whereas most accounting softwares, I'll just use Xero because Xero's the most favorable one at the moment, but literally it's just an accounting software, whereas NetSuite's it's a holistic product, which it enables even finance to understand from an operation perspective where things are coming from. So I understand it, and congratulations on taking it on all those years ago and sticking with it.
And I think that the final point is that Andrew said, which was very, very valid, is it doesn't have to go back and retrofit.
Exactly.
It's there. And we've got 15 years of history. We can go back and we can find lots and lots of information. Again, Trudi, I'm sure you've seen it over the years. I have. A business starts with an MYOB and moves to a Xero, or vice versa, and all the history gets lost unless people spend a lot of time and effort in fixing it. So no.
Yeah, and we do a lot of software integration pieces and this is, I suppose, the question is, why did you choose NetSuite? Because it's a conversation I have daily with organizations going, well, which software should I use? And so firstly, the very first question I ask is, what is the output you're looking for before it should be the output rather than the software itself. What does it need to do? What are you looking for? What reports are you needing? All of those conversations, because I think a lot of people are dictated by the software first, which
I think if I put my ASE hat on, what we talk to customers about with their data is the data is yours, it's your asset. Don't get it trapped in some enterprise system, which you then become wedded to their roadmap and their licensing and all that type of stuff. So we talk to customers and we help customers all the time actually decouple the data away from those applications, bring it out into an environment where you have all your different data sets in one place. And then you can actually bring the best of breed tool, reporting tool. In some cases, that might be Excel. It's a very powerful tool in itself. And then actually do the analysis of all the data in situ. One of the things we see is that people sort of go down this path of blindly just following a particular roadmap and not think about, where's the data, which has really got the value, going to end up. So even though we use NetSuite, we regularly, when I say regularly, I'm talking I think every 15 minutes, maybe every once an hour, pull all the data out of NetSuite. So we have it, and we can do far more manipulation than what NetSuite allows us to do. That's our business. It's part of what we do. But it just means that we're not beholden, I guess, to NetSuite forever. Although at the moment they're bringing new features and they're they're earning their subscription revenue, so we'll continue.
Yeah.
We'll continue. But
Well, I think the icing was on the cake when the bank feed started in NetSuite. You can imagine it was, happy days in here. So I suppose, what's next for ASE, Andrew? What are your goals and aspirations for your business?
Yeah, look, Trudi, it's always a question that I ask, and I have discussions with various people, including my family, about. I think we're coming into our third decade now in terms of running a business, which is
amazing
in itself. But for us, we really wanted to look to expand our offerings and our capabilities, A, more broadly, but B, also more automatically. And so a number of projects we've been working on, particularly over COVID, but these have started before COVID, is our software projects to try and capture IP and know-how that we have in the business into something that's repeatable and recreatable in different markets. And so from our perspective, we will continue to be a service business. We do service well, but then we also want to capture the learnings of that service and I guess deliver that more broadly as well. And so that all has data in its core in terms of where we have our focus. But we'd like to continue to expand and grow. As Nick mentioned, we are looking to undertake some acquisition to help accelerate that growth. And then we'll see. That's probably the next couple of years. And who knows what happens after that.
Yeah.
And again, I think as we made reference to, there's been a couple of projects that have gone through the R&D phase, and particularly there's one now that's really just started to launch, and hopefully, from an ACE perspective, it'll go from strength to strength and open up a whole new revenue stream, I guess.
Yeah. Do
you want to mention it, Andrew? Take the opportunity.
Yeah, it's a product called Fluid, and Fluid basically orchestrates and automates IT infrastructure in offices and data centers to become more like clouds. So you've probably all heard about the clouds like AWS and Azure and Google, and fantastic services they offer there. Sometimes you don't necessarily want to be in one of those clouds, or perhaps you want to be across all of those clouds for various reasons. And Fluid makes that a reality. It turns multiple clouds into a single cloud, but also deploys little clouds wherever you want to put it. So it's been a project we've been working on for a couple of years, and we've launched it in October, and we're starting to see some good traction in the market. So hopefully that will continue.
Well, we'll make sure that we add that into our little notes. So if anybody's interested in contacting Andrew, they can do that, because that sounds amazing.
Thanks, Drew.
And what tips, experiences, thoughts would you share with other firms thinking of taking the plunge to outsource their backroom functions?
Yeah, so a couple of high-level ones. Again, I think that whole church and state mantra of having your CFO and your bookkeeping function separate says a lot. If you're well, even if you're not, but if you're a younger entrepreneur starting a business, but anyone, I think don't underestimate the grey hairs, and I'm sure the 30 years experience is wonderful all the time. I mean that in the nicest possible way. Yeah. So that's probably some key ones is to I guess pick your partners, delineate the roles, and then try as much as possible just to back out and let go a little bit. It's hard and it takes time, but the sooner you can do that, and the sooner you can get to a manage by exception, I guess, checklists and outcomes rather than process, then the more time you'll have to grow and expand your business.
The only thing I would add to it in terms of where Andrew was coming from as well, I think it's important that it's the relationship. I mean, people tend to think of us as a profession as the boring person who sits in the corner, but to a degree, it's got to be the relationship, certainly from my perspective, Andrew and with with Cheryl from Numeric Eight. You've got to be able to deal with the individual. You've got to be able to have those conversations. You've not got to be that person who's just purely buried in numbers. You've got to be able to relate, and you've got to be able to empathise and sympathise at times when you see, you see that obviously an owner of a business like Andrew can go through a lot of stressful situations. And it's about being able to understand it and work with him around it.
Well, especially in the last couple of years, ups and downs, and feel like a bit of a yo-yo at times with what's going on. But I think we're basically on the other side of it now. So we hope that 22 is a flourishing year for all. And Andrew, I look forward to seeing and understanding your new product that you've just launched last month. What amazing, just amazing, because I have to say the cloud stuff for me is it's almost like the sky is just full of clouds, but to have it into one would be absolutely incredible. So I look forward to seeing and hearing a bit more about that. Well, Andrew, I think this wraps it up for us. Is there any closing words you'd like to say?
No, I just want to say thanks to Numeric Eight and thanks to CFO Centre for all your support, but also for having us on today. It's been a great chat.
Lovely. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you to our listeners today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon, perhaps early 22. Wow, Christmas around the corner. Happy New Year, guys, and we hope you keep safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Merry Christmas. See ya.
Goodbye.